Chosen one, listen carefully. This message does not work in a crowd. It does not activate in noise. It does not land while other voices are speaking over it. God said, lock the door, not because he is hiding something from the world, but because what he is about to say to you cannot survive interruption. There are moments when heaven speaks softly on purpose, not because the message is weak, but because it is precise. And precision requires stillness. This only works if you are completely alone. You have been surrounded for too long, surrounded by opinions, surrounded by expectations, surrounded by people who mean well but cannot go where you are being called. Some of them love you, but they don't understand you. Some of them pray for you, but they cannot hear what you hear. And some of them benefit from your presence so much that they unconsciously resist your separation. That is why God did not ask you to explain. He did not ask you to announce. He said, lock the door. There is a pattern here. Every time God is about to elevate someone, he isolates them first. Not to punish them, not to break them, but to remove interference, because interference distorts instruction. And instruction, when distorted, delays destiny. You have been feeling the pull to withdraw. You thought it was exhaustion. You thought it was confusion. You thought something was wrong with you, but this is alignment. This is God repositioning your environment so your spirit can finally hear clearly. When you are alone, masks fall off. When you are alone, distractions lose their power. When you are alone, you stop performing and start listening. And that is exactly why this instruction could not come while you were surrounded. God is not speaking to the version of you that people know. He is speaking to the version of you that exists when nobody is watching, the one who wrestles in silence, the one who cries without witnesses, the one who questions without filters. That is the one he needs right now. There are things he cannot say in public, not because they are secret, but because they are sacred. Sacred instructions require sacred space, and sacred space is rarely crowded. This is why he told you to lock the door, not to shut people out permanently, but to shut noise out temporarily. Because clarity is coming, direction is coming, and timing is everything. You've noticed it already. Conversations feel heavy. Social energy drains you faster than before. You leave rooms feeling empty instead of full. That's not arrogance, that's transition. You are between levels. And between levels, you cannot carry everything with you. Some voices that guided you before cannot guide you where you are going next. And God loves you too much to let outdated voices shape future decisions. This season is not about doing more, it's about hearing more. And hearing requires solitude. Even Jesus withdrew. Even prophets went into hiding. Even kings were formed in caves before thrones. This is not abandonment. This is preparation. The silence you're in is not empty. It is loaded. Loaded with instruction. Loaded with recalibration. Loaded with truth you could not receive while you were busy explaining yourself. God is about to show you patterns you missed, connections you overlooked, motives you misread. And he needs you alone so you don't defend what he is trying to expose. Some of the people you've been protecting are the very ones he's trying to reveal to you. But you keep softening the truth because you don't want conflict. In solitude, there is no one to impress, no one to convince, no one to protect. Only truth remains. This is also why distractions have been falling away on their own. Interest changing, habits losing appeal, even entertainment feels hollow. That's not boredom. That's discernment waking up. Your spirit is becoming too sensitive for surface level stimulation. You are being tuned, and tuning requires quiet. Do you know how many decisions you made while surrounded that you would never make if you were alone with God? Do you know how many compromises were born from pressure instead of conviction? God is correcting that. He is retraining your inner ear. He is teaching you the difference between his voice and emotional noise, and that lesson cannot be taught in a crowded room. You are not being punished with isolation. You are being trusted with instruction. There are things he is about to hand you that cannot be managed by your old mindset, and your old mindset was shaped by too many external voices. So he removes the voices, not forever, just long enough for his to become dominant again. This is also why time feels strange right now. Days blur together. Nights feel heavy. You wake up with thoughts you didn't go to sleep with. Your spirit is processing faster than your mind. And God is speaking in layers. He is not giving you one sentence. He is unfolding a strategy. And strategies require space. Do not rush this. Do not rush back into noise because silence feels uncomfortable. Silence is uncomfortable only when truth is near. That restlessness you feel when you're alone is not loneliness. It's anticipation. Something is about to click. Something is about to make sense. And once it does, you will never see certain people, situations, or paths the same way again. That's why this only works if you're completely alone. Partial solitude won't do. Checking messages breaks the frequency. Explaining your process weakens the signal. You don't need validation for this step. You need obedience. God didn't say understand it first. He said lock the door, because behind that door, clarity is waiting. Not loud clarity, quiet clarity, the kind that settles instead of excites, the kind that doesn't need approval, the kind that feels heavy because it carries responsibility. Once you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it. And that is why timing matters. There is also healing happening here. Old wounds are resurfacing, not to hurt you, but to be resolved. When you are alone, you stop numbing. You stop postponing. You stop distracting yourself from conversations you need to have with God and with yourself. And some of those conversations are uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the doorway to freedom. God is also recalibrating your identity. For too long, you've been defined by what you do for others, by how useful you are, by how much you carry. In solitude, usefulness fades and identity remains. You are learning who you are without an audience. And that version of you is the one God is building with now. This is not the season to announce your plans. It's the season to receive them. Not everyone needs to know what God told you in private. Some things lose power when spoken too soon. Even Mary pondered things in her heart before she spoke. There is wisdom in waiting. There is power in silence. You may feel forgotten, but you are not hidden from God. You are hidden by God. Hidden until you are ready. Hidden until the instruction is complete. Hidden until your strength matches your assignment. Public visibility without private clarity is dangerous, and God will not expose you before he equips you. Pay attention to what comes up when you're alone, the thoughts that repeat, the memories that surface, the questions that won't leave. These are not random. They are clues. God is highlighting areas that need alignment before the next move. And the more honest you are in solitude, the smoother the transition will be. You don't need to force anything right now. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to chase validation. This is not a season of action. It is a season of instruction. Action will come later, and when it does, it will be decisive, clear, and irreversible. Right now, the work is internal, and internal work requires privacy. That's why God said lock the door. Not because the world doesn't matter, but because what he is building in you right now must be protected from premature exposure. You are not behind, you are not late, you are right on schedule. The pressure you feel is not time running out, it is transformation taking place. And transformation often feels like stillness on the outside and movement on the inside. Stay here, stay quiet, stay attentive. There are still layers unfolding. There are still instructions being downloaded. And as you sit in this space, as you resist the urge to rush back into noise, as you allow yourself to be completely alone, you will begin to notice subtle shifts, how your reactions change, how your priorities rearrange, how certain desires fall away without effort. And soon, very soon, something will rise in you that feels different from motivation, different from emotion, different from pressure. It will feel like certainty, calm, unshakable knowing. And when that settles in, you will understand why this could not happen in public, why it could not happen while explaining yourself, why it required locked doors, quiet rooms, and uninterrupted moments. Because what God is doing here is not just preparing you to move forward, it is restructuring how you move, why you move, and who you listen to when you do. And once that internal shift completes, the next step will not feel rushed, forced, or confusing. It will feel inevitable, like a door opening at exactly the right moment, like clarity meeting opportunity, like silence finally giving way to direction. And you will realize that this season of being alone was not about waiting for life to begin. It was about being recalibrated for a life that is about to demand a version of you that could only be formed here in this stillness behind this locked door where every distraction was stripped away and every voice was silenced except the one that has been guiding you all along. And as you sit with that realization, as it continues to settle deeper into your spirit, there is still more being revealed, more connections forming, more understanding unfolding, because this instruction is not finished yet. And what comes next builds directly on what you are hearing now. And that is why you are being asked to remain right here, present, attentive, and completely alone, because the next layer requires even deeper focus, even sharper listening, and an even greater willingness to stay in the quiet a little longer while the full picture continues to take shape. And as you remain here, something subtle begins to happen. The silence no longer feels empty. It starts to feel intentional, like a room prepared before a guest arrives. Your thoughts slow down, not because there is nothing to think about, but because you are no longer chasing every passing idea. You are learning to wait for the weightier ones, the ones that come with peace instead of urgency, the ones that don't shout, but stay. God is not rushing this process because rushing would put you back under pressure. And pressure was never meant to be your compass. Pressure creates movement, but not always direction. And you have moved enough without direction. You have done enough out of obligation. You have said yes enough times when your spirit was saying, wait. This season is correcting that, teaching you that speed does not equal obedience and silence does not equal stagnation. You are beginning to notice how much of your past momentum was fueled by reaction, reacting to people, reacting to fear, reacting to expectations. In isolation, reaction loses its trigger. And what remains is intention. God is teaching you how to move intentionally, how to respond instead of react, how to choose instead of comply. The T-shift alone changes everything. There are layers of truth being revealed that you couldn't have handled before, not because you weren't strong enough, but because you were too entangled. Entangled in roles, entangled in responsibilities, entangled in narratives that were never yours to carry. Solitude untangles. It separates what is yours from what you inherited emotionally, spiritually, relationally, and once the separation begins, clarity accelerates. You may find yourself replaying moments from your past with new understanding. Things that confused you then start making sense now. Conversations, breakdowns, delays, even betrayals. God is not reopening wounds to hurt you. He is reframing experiences to free you. So you stop internalizing what was never about you. So you stop blaming yourself for what was actually preparation in disguise. This is also where discernment sharpens. When you're alone with God, you begin to recognize patterns in people without resentment. You see cycles without bitterness. You understand distance without anger. And that maturity only comes when emotion is no longer being constantly stirred by interaction. Solitude calms emotion so truth can surface. There are instructions being written on your heart right now that are not meant to be memorized but embodied. Ways of responding, ways of deciding, ways of resting. God is not just telling you what to do next. He is changing how you operate permanently so you don't have to keep returning to this same lesson again. You might feel moments of resistance, moments where you want to break the quiet, reach out, fill the space. That urge is familiar. You've always filled space, filled gaps, fillet, de-silence for others. But this space is not meant to be filled by you. It's meant to be occupied by God. And every time you resist the urge to distract yourself, you strengthen your capacity to receive. There's also a rebuilding of trust happening. Not just trust in God, but trust in yourself. You've doubted your discernment because you've been surrounded by conflicting voices. You've questioned your instincts because too many opinions diluted your confidence. In isolation, your inner voice becomes clearer, stronger, more consistent, and you begin to trust it again. This is where confidence is restored quietly. Not the loud, performative kind, the grounded kind, the kind that doesn't need affirmation, the kind that doesn't explain itself, the kind that knows when to move and when to stay still. God is anchoring you here so future storms don't uproot you. Notice how your prayers are changing. Fewer words, more listening, less asking, more aligning. You're not begging for answers anymore. You're positioning yourself to receive them. That's growth. That's maturity. That's what happens when relationship deepens beyond desperation. You are also learning the power of restraint. Not everything needs a response. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every door needs to be forced open. Some doors open only after you stop pushing. Solitude teaches you that. It teaches you patience without passivity, waiting without anxiety. There are also boundaries being established internally. You're realizing what drains you, what distracts you, what no longer aligns. And instead of fighting those realizations, you're accepting them. That acceptance is not withdrawal from life. It's alignment with purpose. God is also restoring your sensitivity. Not emotional sensitivity, but spiritual sensitivity. The ability to sense timing, to feel when something is off, to recognize when something is right, even if it doesn't make sense logically yet. That sensitivity is fragile at first. It requires protection. That's another reason the door is locked. You're being prepared for conversations that haven't happened yet, for opportunities that haven't appeared yet, for responsibilities you haven't been given yet. And preparation always happens in private before it manifests in public. Always. There will come a moment when the silence shifts, not abruptly, gently, where the waiting turns into readiness, where confusion gives way to calm certainty. You won't need external confirmation. You'll just know. That knowing will not feel rushed or dramatic. It will feel settled. Until then, the instruction remains the same. Stay here, stay present, stay honest. Let the quiet do its work. Let the stillness reveal what noise concealed. Let God finish what he started in this space. You are not missing out. You are being set apart. And there is a difference. Missing out feels empty. Being set apart feels purposeful, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's lonely, even when it's quiet. As this continues, you may notice your tolerance for chaos decreasing, for superficiality decreasing, for misalignment decreasing. That's not judgment, that's growth. You are becoming selective, not superior, intentional, not distant, focused, not cold. God is teaching you how to carry weight without collapsing, how to hold responsibility without losing peace, how to move forward, without leaving yourself behind. These lessons cannot be rushed. They must be lived through. The door remains locked not because you are hiding, but because you're being formed. And formation takes time, attention, presence, complete aloneness. There's more coming, more clarity, more understanding, more instruction, layered upon instruction. And as long as you remain willing to stay here, to resist the urge to rush ahead, to trust the process even when it feels slow, what unfolds next will feel less like a surprise and more like a confirmation of everything you've been sensing all along, because this season has been aligning you not just with what you are about to do, but with who you are becoming. And that becoming is still in motion, still unfolding, still deepening. And the quiet you are in now is not the end of movement, it is the center of it, where everything is being recalibrated, adjusted, refined, so that when the next door opens, you will walk through it without hesitation, without confusion, without needing permission, carrying a clarity that was born right here in this silence behind this locked door, where the noise faded, the distractions fell away, and the voice that matters most became unmistakably clear, continuing to speak, continuing to shape, continuing to prepare you for what comes next. And even now, as the stillness stretches, you may notice that your sense of urgency has begun to loosen its grip. The need to figure everything out immediately is fading. You're becoming comfortable, not knowing everything yet. And that comfort is not resignation, it is trust. Trust that revelation unfolds in sequence, not all at once. Trust that what you need XT will arrive exactly when you are ready to carry it. There is a deep recalibration happening in how you measure success. Before, progress was visible, tangible, affirmed by movement and feedback. Now, progress is internal, quiet, almost invisible. And that can feel unsettling if you're used to external validation. But God is shifting you from needing applause to carrying authority. And authority is built in private. You are beginning to see how often you compromised your peace to maintain access, how often you tolerated misalignment because you feared isolation. This season is teaching you that peace is not something you negotiate with. It is something you protect. And protection sometimes looks like distance. As the noise fades, patterns become undeniable. You see how certain cycles kept repeating because you kept responding the same way, same explanations, same overgiving, same silence when you should have spoken, same speaking when you should have stayed quiet. God is not condemning you for that. He is showing you so you don't repeat it. Awareness is mercy. You may also notice grief surfacing, grief for versions of yourself that tried so hard, grief for relationships that could have been different, grief for time you feel was lost. Let it surface. Don't rush past it. Grief acknowledged becomes wisdom. Grief avoided becomes baggage. God is not afraid of your honesty here. He invited it. In this solitude, you are learning that strength does not always feel powerful. Sometimes strength feels like restraint, like waiting when you want to act, like listening when you want to speak, like staying when you want to escape. This is a deeper kind of strength, one that doesn't need to prove itself. There is also a cleansing happening, not dramatic, subtle. Old desires losing their grip, old fears losing their authority, old narratives losing credibility. You are no longer impressed by what once intimidated you. That is growth you didn't notice happening, but it happened anyway. God is also restoring your sense of worth independent of productivity. You are valuable even when you are not producing, even when you are resting, even when you are silent. That truth may feel unfamiliar if your identity has been tied to usefulness, but it is necessary because what you are about to step into cannot be sustained by burnout. This quiet is also training your discernment for timing. You are learning when to move and when to wait without anxiety, without guilt, without pressure. That skill will matter later more than you realize now. Timing is everything, and mistimed obedience can be just as costly as disobedience. You may sense moments where inspiration flickers, ideas, visions, possibilities. Don't rush to act on them yet. Let them mature. Let them be tested in silence before they are expressed in action. Seeds grow best underground before they break the surface. Notice how your tolerance for dishonesty is diminishing. how you can no longer ignore misalignment just to keep peace. That's because your inner alignment is strengthening. When you are aligned internally, external misalignment becomes impossible to ignore. God is also teaching you how to be led without being pushed, how to be guided without being forced. That kind of leadership begins with surrender, not control. And surrender is easier in solitude. There may be moments where you feel forgotten by others. Messages slow down, invitations fade, attention shifts. Do not interpret that as rejection. It is repositioning. Not everyone can access you in this season, and that is intentional. You are also being trained to hear instruction without emotional charge, to receive direction without fear, to accept correction without shame. Those are signs of maturity, and maturity is required for what is coming. This space is also revealing how deeply you are loved, not for what you do, not for what you provide, but for who you are, alone, unseen, unproductive. That realization heals places you didn't know were still wounded. God is not just preparing your next move, He is preparing your nervous system to handle it, teaching you how to stay regulated under pressure, how to remain grounded under responsibility, how to stay connected under demand. Those skills are learned here, not later. You may feel moments of restlessness again. That doesn't mean you failed, it means another layer is ready to be addressed. Each wave of discomfort is an invitation deeper, not a signal to leave. There are still beliefs being dismantled, beliefs about what you deserve, what you're capable of, what is possible for you. Some of those beliefs were never yours. They were absorbed, learned, imposed. Solitude gives you the space to question them. God is also reminding you that you are allowed to change, allowed to outgrow, allowed to evolve. You don't owe anyone consistency at the expense of obedience. Growth often looks like contradiction to people who only know your past. This season is teaching you how to hold your future without grasping it, how to anticipate without anxiety, how to prepare without striving. That balance is rare and it is cultivated here. Pay attention to how your language is changing internally. Less self-criticism, less urgency, more compassion, more clarity. That internal dialogue shapes everything that follows. You are also learning how to be present, truly present, not distracted, not divided. That presence will become one of your greatest strengths. People will feel it when you enter a room later, but it is being built now in emptiness. The door remains closed because the work is not finished. Not because something is wrong, but because something is right on time. Formation is still happening. Alignment is still settling. Instruction is still unfolding. You are not stuck. You are stabilizing. You are not paused. You are being positioned. You are not isolated. You are being tuned. And as this tuning continues, you may sense a deepening calm beneath everything, a steadiness that doesn't depend on circumstances. That calm is not passive. It is powerful. It will carry you through what comes next. Stay with it. Stay open. Stay receptive. There's still more being revealed beneath the surface, more connections forming quietly, more understanding aligning gently. And as long as you remain here, willing to listen instead of rush, willing to trust instead of control, willing to sit in the stillness without escaping it, the unfolding will continue exactly as it is meant to, layer by layer, insight by insight, shaping you into someone who will move forward not from pressure or fear or noise, but from a place of deep clarity, grounded authority, and quiet certainty that was formed right here in this space of aloneness, where nothing distracted you from the voice that continues to speak, continues to guide, continues to prepare you for the next unfolding moment that has not yet fully arrived, but is steadily approaching as this inner work carries on. And now, as this moment settles fully into you, understand this clearly. The door was never locked to keep you trapped. It was locked to keep you focused. Every quiet moment, every pause, every stretch of silence was shaping you into someone who no longer needs noise to feel secure or validation to feel chosen. You were not pulled away from the world to disappear, but to be prepared. What you gained here cannot be taken from you later. The clarity you received in isolation will guide you in crowds. The peace you learned in stillness will anchor you in pressure, and the voice you learn to recognize in silence will remain unmistakable when life becomes loud again. When the time comes to unlock the door, you will not walk out confused or uncertain. You will walk out steady, grounded, and aligned, carrying a knowing that does not waver and a purpose that does not need explanation. This season of being alone was not an ending, it was the foundation, and everything that follows will. Stand firmly on what was built here.